morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where in the world you are, and of course, what time of day or night it is either. Welcome to the podcast Up on the Edge with Al and Owen. I'm your host, Alan Neild, Big Al, or just Al, whatever you want to call me. And each week, I'm going to be joined by regular co-host Owen Sherratt and other special guests along the way too. Right, let's get right into it. This is the podcast Up on the Edge.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh, you're taking the piss, mate.
Hey, it wouldn't be the same if we didn't, Sav.
I'm like pressing all these buttons. I'm like, what is going on? Hello,
How are you?
boys.
How you doing, pal?
I'm all right. How are you?
So,
Oh,
hang on a sec. Right. Trav.
Oh,
Owen, we've got Trav,
we've got the world famous Sav at that.
the Wookie. How are you, lad?
Okay.
I'm good, thank you. How are you, boys?
All right, you're speaking a bit posher than you did when you were up at Oldham, mate.
You know
Look,
why
I've
that
been-
is, don't you? It's because
Go
he
on.
went down south.
Down south to Kef's Kef.
That's the
I
one.
went down south. Yeah, now I speak like this. Look,
Yeah.
you're just going to have to cope with it. You've got half hour of me.
Is that it? Is that all we've got? Half hour?
I mean, if you pay a little bit extra, I'm sure I can slip in a few more minutes. But
Hey, I tell you what, last time somebody said that to me.
I was going to say we clearly go to the same brothel, but I better not do that one, had I?
Yeah.
You know. So,
No,
let me
no.
just tell you, right, my side of the story here. So I got a phone call off a guy called John Eccles. And John Eccles was the chap that used to, I don't think he does now, but he used to run all the media stuff at Oldham College. And he said to me, I've got this student who's fairly good, and he's had a bit of a rough time of it recently, but he wants to get into radio. Al, is there any chance you can just take him into the studio with you for a weekend? You know, just give him an hour, then fire him off on bus. And that was it. He never went home until I got sacked.
I reckon that's something to do with you getting sacked, you know.
Quite possibly. Travis, from your point of view,
yeah.
what's the story? How does it look?
What, with you getting fired or how we came into contact?
Yeah, how we came into contact.
Yeah, I was at Oldham College and I was doing hospital radio for Radio Cavell at the Royal Oldham, and I was doing like the request show on like a Monday night, and I was doing my own Guest the Year at a very original format, thank you very much. Not to be confused with the Top 10 at 10 at all.
No.
And then, so I knew that John was attached to the Rev, and I tried to get into the Rev years ago as a young wee whippersnapper, trying to get my foot in the door of some form of radio instead of just making sort of fake radio shows at the top of my stairs with 2 Will Smith CDs. I thought, this is
Did
my
you
way
actually
in.
do that?
Honestly, so I used to live just off Lees Road, my mum and dad's house, and at the top of the stairs we had it's like a little hi-fi, little CD player, and I used to sit and do links in between songs and do like fake requests, but I only had 2 Will Smith CDs, so there was a lot of, well, Beverly and Royton has requested, it's Wild Wild West again. Sure, no worries. And then it's Getting Jiggy with It again. You love this one. It's Miami by Will Smith. So
Not even his good songs, is it?
Did he have any good songs?
No.
look, the album Millennium is a masterpiece.
Is
Millennium.
that right?
I don't know.
Did he
Hey,
actually
tell me.
release one called Millennium? I don't remember that.
No, that was the
Yeah.
album, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah, Millennium. Chock
And
full
that-
of bangers.
And then you sort of came in and I christened you Wookie. You've still kept hold of that one, haven't you? I mean, I'm looking at you right now, and you're sort of a cross between a Wookie and John Lennon.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny that you mentioned the Wookiee thing. So, as part of my sort of me sort of slagging around all the different radio stations across Britain. Part of my tenure at Radio X, I casually mentioned to Ed Gamble and Matthew Crosby, I used to produce that show there, I casually mentioned to them that I used to be nicknamed the Wookie at the Revolution, my first radio job. And they absolutely, I love that you've stolen that, by the way. I was pointing at his Revolution 96.2, all the best songs in Oldham, Rochdale and Tameside.
There you go.
And yeah, so I mentioned it to them. So they then started to call me the Wookie on air at Radio X.
Wow.
So then a whole new audience knew me as the Wookie.
Wookie, yeah. Wow.
I thought I'd left it behind. I still get tweets to this day of like, oh, the Wookie. So it all came from you, Al. So thanks for that, mate.
Right, okay. It wasn't just the look, though, was it? You also had, I don't know if you've ever witnessed this, Owen, right?
Might have, yeah.
He also has the best impression, vocally, of a Wookiee you've ever come across.
Now, I've never come across this, no, because I've got to admit, every time Travis used to sort of work with me, he had the look of fear every time that red light come on, the fader went up. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But
Owen,
could
please
see...
behave yourself. Don't get me in trouble.
Yeah. Kev will shout at us.
Sorry,
Kev, he did.
He did. Yeah, I can imagine. I used to get some right sarcastic emails off him, but they're all done, lovely, all tongue in cheek, I'm sure.
Trav, come on, you've got to do an impression of the Wookiee for us. Have you got it? Lubricate your throat.
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of.
It's got the water ready. Here we go.
In a very fetching Freddie Mercury pint glass, if you can see that.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Now, I am actually very famous for doing this impression, so when you hear it, you'll go, that's actually Chewbacca. No, it's not. It's me. I didn't commit to that.
That was shit. Let's do it again.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. I've forgotten what he talks like. No? Yeah, I think it was more the look than the voice.
Can you do it, Owen?
I think a little bit of weed come out there.
I've got snot running down my nose. Can you do one, Owen?
No, I can't. That's like a parrot.
So that's what I've got to try this. This is just the worst podcast ever. It's brilliant. I used to be able to do it. I can't do it now.
I was convinced you used to have a really good one, Al.
I did. I'm sure I did. But it wasn't until you were sat there sort of gazing into my eyes that I thought, oh my goodness, we haven't done this for years. How long ago was it since you started the revolution then?
It was 2015, I think. Yeah, it must have been 2015. Because you were doing Weekend Breakfast.
Yeah.
And what I remember from that was basically you said, yeah, you can come in for the one show and we'll just see what happens. And I came in and I think you'd said, oh, prep some local stories for us. So I remember I was like trawling through the cron. I was like looking on like local Facebook group. I was doing all sorts to try and find like a quirky local story to bring to the show. And I can't remember for the life of me which one what I brought, but I remember bringing 4 and you were like, I remember you looking at me and you went, they'll do. And then I got to sit and witness Al at his best.
Really? Yeah. Al at his best? Go on. I know you're going to say something really fly now, Mr. Sherrod.
What?
Who, me? Good, yeah. Yes, as if. I'll tell you one thing, remember, do you remember we got into that spate of trouble, me and Al, and I was not allowed to come on your show again. We went to Sandover. And there was the story about the magpie. I can't remember his name.
Right,
and you
Magpie.
Yeah. That's someone. Wow. And do you remember that? And
yes.
I said, I've got a punchline ready to go with a song. Look of fear on both your faces. And I just went into, what was it called? Something like Paul wanted the magpie.
Yes,
Paul, he had to go to rehab. He went, because I can't do an impression of magpie. I can only do pigeons. So, and the look of relief on Travis's face that day, because he's thinking, what's he going to come out with? Because I've got to be fair, Whenever me and Al seemed to have got together on air, it just totally went off slope. It just totally
Right.
off piece.
I've just Googled this now. You're not going to believe it. Royton Magpie was actually called Paul.
I thought so, yeah.
That is
Great
weird.
memory.
Oh.
It lasted,
I just remember that. I remember that bit of content absolutely taking off. We just thought it was just a funny, like, here's a thing, very funny. And then I remember Al, you was like, if you've seen Royton Magpie, if you've seen Paul, let us know. And then I remember we got so many messages. Oh, yeah, he used to get into our car and we'd drive him down the road. Oh, yeah, he's got a seat in our pub. What? It was unbelievable.
Photographs. I've just been having a quick look now. There's all the photographs still online of people
great.
driving down the road, and the magpie stood on top of the steering wheel as they're driving down the road. And it
It's amazing, isn't it?
wasn't a tame magpie. It was just like, yeah, I think I'll let you ride. You know, and
The thing is,
I'll
they
go
had to
have a pint
capture it in the
in
end,
the
though.
tap room.
They had to capture it in the end, though, didn't they?
I don't know.
Yeah,
idea
they had
what
to try and
happened to it.
retrain it because it was not. It's not frightened of people. It was like a dog or something like that. It become accustomed to people, so it's quite happily walk up to people and things like that. And it sort of stood its ground with everything. So you had to retrain it. This is how you be a magpie.
I remember that there used to be a pet shop in Shaw. I think it's a takeaway now or something. Well, everything's a takeaway.
Well,
or
you've
a
got to do
charity
something
shop,
with the dead
innit?
animals, haven't you?
You know what I mean? And when you walked in, they had all sort of bird cages with all these exotic birds on sort of like the far wall. And right at the very top, they had a minor bird. And you've never heard anything talk as much in your life. It just wouldn't shut up. And in the end, they had to remove it because people had been teaching it swear words. Right. So you'd walk through the front door of the shop, of this pet shop, and this minor bird would just go, piss off, or something like that, which the kids all thought it was hysterical. But the adults at the time, I mean, we're talking like early 80s here, they were all, mortified. Oh, you can't go saying that. These young kids here. But that's what we need. We need shops full of minor birds that talk and magpies that ride in taxis free of charge. That'd be genius, wouldn't it? Travis, listen, since we sort of departed because I got sacked because of you, right?
I would dispute that.
No, I wouldn't. What do you reckon, Owen?
I'm totally on board there. I think it's Travis' fault I had a stroke.
Yeah, and he's not talking about that kind of stroke either. He had a proper medical stroke, right? He probably did have the other one as well, but there you go.
Oh yeah.
You
Not from me.
went off to university, didn't you?
Yes.
And landed a couple of really good jobs on the back of it. Tell us about it. What's going on?
Wow. Since I left there, so in my first year at uni, I went to I got an internship at Radio 1. So I was living and going to uni in Birmingham, but travelling to London and doing my internship at Radio 1. And then off the back of that, I did 2 months there, working with like Scott Mills and Trevor Nelson and some like really great people. And then I got in contact with,
Sorry, was that your mic dropping then?
Get ready for this. This is my favourite one. So off the back of that, I then I got in contact with someone from Radio X because I wanted to work with Moyles. I was like, get me on Chris Moyles' show. I want to do it. I don't know how I'm going to get on, but I started working breakfast with with Chris Moyles at Radio X, interning for that show, and that was that's where at Revolution we'd had the sort of like that anything can happen sort of radio in as much as there's only us two there, or if Owen was allowed in the studio that day, there was 3 of us, and it was like, oh god, anything can happen here. And this is like, it's sort of edge of your seat, like you're listening just to hear something a little bit mad. Working with Moyles every day, you just didn't know what was going to happen. He'd have his rundown for the show, and if he decided he thought, nah, we're not going to talk about that, let's talk about this. And he's one of the few people who has that sort of freedom to do it. So, yeah.
He never got reined in at all then?
No, I mean, if you think about, as radio people, Moyles started his show at 6:30 in the morning. He didn't play a song until 7:10.
Wow.
He just talked. He talked for that 6:30 to 7, went to ads, did the news, have a bit of chat off the back of the news, and then he'd reluctantly play a song and he'd go for a fag.
Who does he think he is? Steve Penk?
Yeah, I know they used to go mad at Steve for doing that when he was doing Breakfast at the Rev, because he'd decide to have a rant about something, and then the 2 blocks of adverts would punch together. Yeah, usually, yeah. Got to get rid of Al. Don't know how. Don't know how. Phone in now. How can I get rid of Al? No, I'm kidding. But it's, but Penke was renowned for that. And but to be fair, sometimes, and I can understand where it's coming from, and if you get a chance to, Steve's done like his story of how he's got into radio and thing, and it's on Spotify. And if you get a chance to listen to it, it's an interesting listen. And the thing is you can understand why he's like he is, because, again, he was given, like Chris, carte blanche for creativity. And I think that's where a lot of local radio is falling down, because you're not allowed to be that level of creative.
Yeah.
You know, so
it is. I mean, how many times do you get pulled into the boardroom at the end of a show and say, right, okay, let's listen back to what you've done and this, that, and the other. I think you should be doing this, but then what you're doing is that's like getting. This is probably too far extreme, but it's like getting Pablo Picasso and saying, your paintings are a bit shit, mate. This is what I want you to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is you can always try and toe the line, which when it changed from Steve to the Credible Media took over, and obviously they had a framework. So you got to sit back, take on board what they want, because at the end of the day, it's their ball. You've got to play their game. Yeah. Totally get that. But you do want a bit of freedom. And the thing is with Steve is he micromanaged most shows. So if I started talking about something, I'd notice the tunes would change. Then I'd start panicking then, because my timings would be out for the rest of the hour. And you know what? I call him all the names under the sun. And hopefully we can get him on one of these podcasts and I'll tell him again. And, you know, what the thing is with him, he picks on people's creativity and he tries to push you with that. And I think a lot of that's getting crushed out of a lot of radio anyway. I mean, obviously, you're lucky enough to be hands-on and still in there, Travis. And I've seen you on Instagram and stuff. You seem to be having the time of your life, which, you know, I hold my hands up to you and I wish you all the very best with it. And, you know, I feel that it's been a privilege to have met you at the early start of your thing as well. So,
can I just say as well, we've just been snooping before you came into the studios. We've just been snooping at your Instagram.
Okay.
Oh dear God. Right. There's a photograph of you where you've had your hair straightened and you're definitely wearing a dress. Now you need to explain yourself.
Right. That made me laugh so much that I pulled my headphone wire out. No, what happened was I'm wearing a vest, not a dress.
You're wearing a dress.
Wearing a vest.
It's a frock,
it's a very fetching long vest. And look, it shows off my figure. I'm not going to apologise for that, Al, okay?
Here's the thing, right? I mean, I've known you for 5-6 years, something like that. Yeah. And the amount of times I've turned around and said, sure, he must be batting for the other team. However, he punches above his weight when it comes to women, right? His girlfriends are just fit, full stop, right? How do you get away with wearing a bloody dress?
Maybe that's what draws him in, Al.
It's 2020, guys. Look, I could do whatever. I've got long hair. I'm now part of the spectacle brigade. Tomorrow I could rock up wearing nail varnish, and I think I think this is why, like, there's a lot of similarities between us and why we sort of done well in our own like areas. It's because we're just unapologetically sort of us.
Is it the way your balls hang down below the hem of your dress?
No, what happens is I've got a very special move where if I bend over and at just the right angle, my balls peek out between the back of my legs. So that's what gets them. Owen, take that look off your face.
It's not that, you see. Wait till you get to my age. If it's doing that now, they'll be clacking on your knees, mate. You're like dirty grandpa.
How many different radio stations have you worked at now since you was in Oldham with us?
Oh, gosh. Okay. let's. So BBC Radio Manchester, BBC Radio 1, BBC Radio 1 Extra, Talksport, Radio X, Capital, Heart, LBC, and currently Kiss FM UK, the beat of the UK. And they're
It's already got the tagline in there, didn't it?
And it's a company man, Owen. I'm a company man.
I've been sacked from that many radio stations, mate. You just wait till you get my age. So, right, I've got a couple of questions about radio, and then we really need to move on here.
Sure.
Favorite person that you've worked with in radio? Not me, not him. Right? So not me, not Ginger.
Yeah.
And why?
Broadcasters? Question mark.
Go on.
As in. Yeah. I learned a lot from Moyles. I learned, because he was very early on in my career, I learned how to, similar way to you, to deal with someone who doesn't exactly want you to do. So in a producer's role, I've got to get the best out of my presenter, and you've got to have them on board, and you've got to sort of, sometimes they need an arm around the shoulder, sometimes there's all these sort of techniques you use to get the best out of your presenter. And when you work with certain talent, sometimes you just have to fly by the seat of your pants.
Now,
go on.
Scariest moment on air and who with?
Well, literally last week, I took the station off air for 20 minutes.
What did you do?
So, I mean, it wasn't fully my fault. We was playing, so at 5 p.m. we have a 5 o'clock mix block. So we've got all these tunes in the mix for 17 minutes, which is usually, as you know, you've got a period of 17 minutes. You use that to go for a piss, have a little break. I chose to take my little break at the wrong time because the computer decided to sort of do a reboot. So then I'm trying to play tunes off of my PC onto a national network. I'm playing tunes off a bloody PC.
Now, ironically enough, I was walking through the park today and listening to one of our, I think it was the last podcast that we did, Owen.
Yeah.
And me and you was having a conversation about this exact thing and what should be done. And we should have had the CD player with the correct CD in. And what the presenters at the Revolution used to do was to change the CD. So, rather than it be playing, I don't know, Barry White, Michael Jackson, whatever, you'd get the Prodigy and Smack Me Bitch Up or something similar to that, right? Which set you in blind panic number 2. Or, they did put, was it Delamitri, Roll With Me? Was it?
Yeah.
It was about 40 seconds long.
I know, yeah.
And
as soon as you throw the first bar, it's finished.
It's done. It's finished.
I've just remembered my other most scariest moment. And
I only wanted one.
Well, you're going to get this one because it's my best one.
Right, okay.
Basically, it's the thing I'm most sort of infamous for. In my time at Radio X, I went out on a night out before the Ed Gamble and Matthew Crosby show, which went on, it was 8 till 11 Sunday morning. I went out Saturday night in London, and basically it was 3 a.m. and I was still out. Soz about that, I was still out. And then basically my alarm didn't go off. So I didn't turn up for the show. So Ed and Matthew decided to rip into me for a whole show. And they found that I'd tweeted Liam Gallagher at 4 a.m. asking, "Coming for a pint, lad." At 4 a.m. I tweeted Liam Gallagher. So they absolutely ripped me for that. So
Did he reply? Did he reply?
He did not. He's still yet to reply. And now it's sort of my gimmick. I ask him quite a lot.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, Owen, you know my feelings on the Gallaghers.
What, not as good a pair as you two?
Dickheads, telling you. Lockdown, how have you got on?
Well, I moved in the middle of lockdown, so that was quite stressful. But I found working from home very difficult, trying to do a radio show from home with my presenter not in front of me. But I'm now lucky enough that I'm back in the studio 4 days a week with all the sort of safety protocols in place. So, yeah, I mean, radio's been very flexible, sort of, we have anyway, being able to broadcast completely from home from March. So
you've put this down at the same for. Well, Owen, you've been out every day though, haven't you?
Yeah, no choice. I'm what they call a key worker, Al.
Have you got your letter, Owen?
What's the same a key worker?
Mm.
Do you know what, mate? I don't know anybody that could live without water, with a blocked toilet, or with no heating. And the thing is, you see, what do? You call a plumber. So obviously it's work. It's nothing else. You know, if the lockdown first started, it was a bit funny because we're only just doing emergencies. And then when people start getting the payments through from the government, they decide, well, we're not going out to spend any money. Let's have a new bathroom. You know, so it's been crazy. my knees are giving me so much pain. I can't tell you, my knees. I feel like 90.
Have you bought your bird? We do call a bird, by the way. I'm not being rude, but have you bought your bird Christmas present yet?
No.
Are you going to buy her one?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Like what? Because I've got no idea what I'm buying the missus.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I have to, like with everything else, last minute, seat me pants, like it or not.
I've got my partner's Christmas presents actually sat next to me right now, so maybe you could take some. Yeah,
there's that glass.
just a big blooming knife. How about that?
Are you serious?
Genuinely, I bought her a knife. She likes cooking. It's not because she's got any sort of murderous tendencies. Yeah.
So it's not like when you bend over, your tackle falls out the back of your dress to whip it off.
Anything below the hem.
It's coming off.
Oh, right. I've got a question here now, and I need you to answer it with an honest answer as quick as you possibly can.
Okay, pressure.
I'll ask you first, then I'll ask Mr. Sherratt.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you watched porn on the internet?
Last night.
Okay. Mr. Sherratt?
I've never watched porn on the internet, believe it or not.
Never?
Really?
Never.
Have you still got them mucky magazines, Owen, that you found in the woods?
In the woods? I put them in the woods, so my mum won't find them under the bed.
Listen, that was the thing about Radio Cough Cough. Yeah, you know which one we're talking about, don't you? Mm. It was in quite a remote location, wasn't it? And the amount of times I turned up to go on air, and there would be people and sometimes watchers hanging about in the, shall we say, the car park for the moorland around. It was unbelievable. Arses hanging out of windows and all sorts.
Wow.
People running around naked.
Al, when was yours?
What?
When was your last time?
Oh, sorry. I had a friend of mine sent me through a message on Facebook Messenger about 10 minutes before we came into the studio. And I clicked it, and it was like rather embarrassing because my kids are in the next room.
If you mean stuff like that, I get it daily, but I never watch it. It starts, I just can't watch it, you know, because chances are there'll be somebody watching over my shoulder. I go, oh God! But I have forwarded a couple on by accident, and they go, "What are you sending me that for?" You know,
you forwarded one to me yesterday, so don't even go there, mate.
I know I did.
Yeah,
that's what I say. I do stuff like that, but I thought I'd just sit down to watch porn. No.
And it was hanging as well. It is absolutely hanging. Right, listen, let me tell you. You just said you've moved as well, Travis. Where have you moved to?
I moved in with my girlfriend. So I now live in southeast London in a place called Forest Hill.
Is that why you're talking posh?
Yes, I'm ever so bloody posh. Get us an avocado, why don't you?
On toast, darling.
Yes.
Oh, you're smashed on toast, Owen. I'm not an idiot.
Bloody marvellous. And listen,
on Pano Grill.
Oldham's where you were born and bred.
Absolutely, mate.
Right, and you're now flying high with all the bigwigs down in that London, you know.
London.
What's the best thing about the town you grew up in?
Oh, I love Oldham. I'm very, very proud to be from Oldham. And I've lived in Rochdale and I went to college in Tameside, so I feel like I've ticked off the whole areas. I think I love the people of Oldham. I think they are who they are, and it's one of those things. I know when I come back, I'm going to get a ribbon. I'm going to get a ribbon about whether it's in my voice, whether it's my hair, you in that there, big smoke, or whatever. but it all comes from such a lovely place, and I know there's a lot of people back home who've supported me in a lot of incredible ways, and I'd just say you two as well. I remember you gave me my first pair of radio headphones that are currently they're in my other room over there, which honestly that meant a heck of a lot, and I think that is that's a little snapshot of what Oldham is. They no matter how far you go away, you can never really sort of leave. Like, you're always apart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was like, you're leaving, dude. I was last man standing. Need someone to Dino Corrigan.
You got on a bus, didn't you? You went on a tour around Manchester.
In the end, yeah. That's after I've been round Oldham. Poor Tony got on the bus, woke up in Bolton.
I got a message off him today, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I think he'd been listening to the podcast and he just says, oh, thanks for that bit of a mention. Well, you've got another one now, Tony. Well done.
Great bloke. I don't know. So, are you glad you're doing what you're doing, Travis? That's the main thing.
Yeah, I think radio is the best job in the world. I think it's a shame that, I don't want to get too sort of sad about it all, but the way the industry is at the minute, it is a shame where there's a lot of less opportunities for people. But I feel very, very lucky to be able to do what I do. And thank you to you boys for kicking me up the arse right at the start.
We've got to round this up, but I've got one last question to ask. Has Chris Moyles ever heard of Owen Sherratt?
100%. I've told him stories in the pub.
Great to talk to you, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Love you, big guy.
I love you guys.